the show that tells the truth about marijuana and the politics behind its prohibition.
And welcome to another exciting edition of Cannabis Common Sense. Our shows are a production of our political committee, the Campaign for the Restoration and Regulation of Hemp, or CRRH, and our nonprofit organization, the Hemp and Cannabis Foundation, or THCF. Tonight we're proud to say we have Madeline Martinez of Oregon Normal here, as we have Henrik Rode, leader of the Five Guys in Suits for the Million Marijuana March movement there last week. I think he did pretty well in that. He got more than 5. And then we also have Tim Pate to provide musical accompaniment. Hi, Tim.
Good evening, everybody.
So we've got a great show for you tonight. Our teleprompter's broken, but we have other sorts of news from the mainstream media. So stay tuned, and let's bring out the infamous dancing cannabis leaves. All right, we're going to run some news stories for our Hemp News segment tonight. We're happy to say that the Million Marijuana March last week got lots of news, so we have a couple of news clips that Madeline Martinez was able to bring into us. Happily, we can show those to you. I think we're ready to roll? No, not quite yet. You can also get our Hemp News newspaper out there at your libraries, so read that. We have another one coming out in a couple of weeks as well. And there were a couple of other things in the news this week, but like I said, our teleprompter broke. It's in the shop. So we're going to roll the tape, I think. Maybe. No, we're not. Well, let me just introduce our guests then. We'll go on with that segment of the show here. Roll on back. And how are you doing, Madeline? Welcome to the show.
I'm actually recuperating from last weekend.
I bet. You did a lot of work there, and you were very successful.
It was pretty tiring, too.
And we have Henrik over here.
By the time you finish.
It was a great march.
It was
a really good time. A lot of people showed up. I don't know what the official estimate was. I'm still guessing 420.
Well, they said 700.
They said, I saw that in the news.
700. That was the official estimate. I was thinking maybe 800, but
Sergeant Vopal said that they approximated about 750 people.
And the march here in Portland got an incredible amount of media. It was even carried outside of the area. I know down in Southern California, I heard that they had you on the news down there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, I know I did some Channel 12 news, but I didn't get to catch it. I just did my DVR or DVD and had a tape, and it was pretty amazing to see Russ Balville and Anna Diaz on there.
Yeah, I saw a little
very
clip
good
with
coverage.
Ann.
It was very positive.
Well, a lot of the stations were down there. 6 was down there, Channel 2 was down there, Channel 12 was down there. I don't know about Channel 8. I don't know if they got anything or not.
And I was really happy.
Because last year, I'm not sure how many of them ran stories on this.
They brought out the angle that we're introducing the Oregon Cannabis Tax Act petition. And then the big news really is 2 days later, Kevin Mannix withdraws the initiative petition to gut the medical marijuana law.
And we even got credit for that in Holy Smoke.
That's right, in the
by Jason
Willamette Week.
Howd, yes.
Yeah, the Willamette Week did a great article.
They did a
had
great
some
article.
Pictures and color pictures on their website.
That ganja girl, she was really cute, wasn't she? She was adorable.
If I ever have any problems, I want her to rescue me.
Yeah, exactly.
She's always ready to save the planet.
That's what she said. She's ready to save the planet. She says everything should be green.
I agree with that.
Yes, yes.
Well, I know Tim is standing by over there ready to burst into song, aren't you, Tim?
Always ready for you, Paul.
All right. Well, I'm sure our audience is about ready as well. Let's go ahead and hear
okay.
your
I think I'm just going to play this, then you can listen. How about that?
Sounds good. Well, we are taking your phone calls tonight, and if you have any questions for Madeline Martinez, Henrik, or Tim Pate over here, give us a call at 503-288-4448. That's 503-288-4448. We'll be taking your calls right up to the top of the hour. Now, is there something you wanted to launch into here, Henrik?
Absolutely. About the Million Marijuana March. It was just such a huge success, and for those who have been following the show for the last few weeks, the 5 Guys in Suits campaign was just an amazing success. We well exceeded our goal, and we were well represented by very dapper-looking fellows in suits, marching around the square and marching around the parade route. So it was quite the event. In fact, we did bring the Cannabis cam down to the parade and shot another film clip. And if we may, I'd like to play a little game for you kids at home can play along. As you're watching the film clip, I'd like you all to get a crayon and ask Mom or Dad if this is okay. And go ahead and go up to your screen. Each time you see a guy in a suit, draw a little circle around him. And then after the clip, you can call in, and whoever guesses the right number of guys in suits featured in the clip wins a big prize.
You want to show that prize there? I know you've got it right
I do.
there.
I've got a big, well, it's a big prize about the size of a CD. This is Out in the Cold, Crying in the Rain, the CD by Tim Pate, featuring such hits as Country Fair, Daddy Was a Gambler, and Let's All Be Farmers. That's it. So,
A couple of my favorites.
you can count accurately the number of guys in suits that you see in the film clip, which is coming up in just a couple minutes here, then you win this great prize.
Wow.
So here we go. That was my introduction to the film clip, and we can roll that at any time if that's up and ready.
Once they have it ready, we will. I think, though, we'll take a phone call first. Hello, caller. You're on the show.
Good evening, gentlemen. How are you this evening?
We're fabulous. How about you?
Good. I'm wondering who needs to turn who down. I probably need to turn it down.
Yeah, it might help.
I was getting some feedback. Million Marijuana March was magnificent, and magnificent.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madeline.
Thank you for coming.
It was a lot of fun.
Also, have to throw a shout out to Tim Pate. You just picked up his CD there and advertised it there, Henrik. I own a copy of it, and it's great.
Ooh, thank you.
Yes.
We appreciate your support. I know we had a lot of folks come out for the march. I think that was our biggest one yet.
That was our biggest march yet, and we're planning on having another one next year.
Exactly.
We just got the date.
It'll be the 10th one.
It'll be our 10th March. It's so exciting, a whole decade, you know, and they always say that we're not exactly consistent, but we've proven them wrong, haven't we?
You bet.
We're respectful, we're consistent, and we're going to be there next year for the 10th one, and we're all thinking about changing the name of it. It's been the Million Marijuana March because of my insistence that we be consistent for 9 years, and so everyone suggested that we go with global. And I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, it happens in 230 cities in 35 countries.
Exactly, and just when I decided to go with global, they're now calling it the International Marijuana March. So, I don't know. We're going to have to flip a coin, I think.
I like global best there.
I like global, too. Well, good. I think everybody's going to vote for global, so we'll stick with that.
I think we need a green globe, so therefore...
There you go. Great idea. I like it.
Global would be good. Paul, I wanted to ask you a question real quick.
Okay.
Did you happen to see, I don't know if you have Comcast as your internet provider or not, but those of us who do saw in their homepage, they flashed by stories about this, that, and the other thing, and there was a study just released today, according to Washington. Now, mind you, there is no byline on this, okay?
What was the results of the study?
They're saying depression, teens, and marijuana are a dangerous mix that can lead to dependency, mental illness, or suicidal thoughts.
Exactly.
And
well, I'd be interested to see the follow-ups on that.
I would like to see
more research will take place.
Well, I think the opposite is actually true.
Yeah.
You know, unfortunately, I think it's abuse when children medicate with marijuana or with anything, really, any substance. I think they're safer once they grow up. But the other thing is that we're winning the war. We're winning the war of public opinion. We've already won. 81% of Americans support medical marijuana, and 849,000 Americans were arrested. So we have won the war. It's just that now they're sitting out all the big guns. They're coming up with all kinds of BS, and they're spreading it all over the place because they know they've lost.
Well, that's my point. Is there's no author attributed to this.
Right.
There's no link on the page except to down here at the bottom, the White House Office of National Drug Control Policy.
Right.
So they're putting out, spewing out more propaganda, more lies. They're saying here
it's the same office that says there are no scientific studies showing that medical marijuana has any efficacy or any use. So they're willing to lie about that. I have very little faith in anything that comes out of that office.
Well, anything that comes out of the White House, you know, if you see President Bush's lips moving, you know he's lying.
Right, right.
So this is yet another one of their pieces of propaganda garbage saying that using marijuana increases the risk of developing mental disorders by 40%. And teens who smoke pot at least once a month over a year-long period are 3 times more likely to have suicidal thoughts than non-users, the report stated. What kind of garbage is this? Like I said, I'd like to see the bibliography on this, and Paul, if by next week you can maybe dig that up and just see what studies it was that they
sure we will.
That they were quoting, because I think that's bogus numbers.
I think you're right.
Right. I agree.
Anything out of the White House's Office of National Drug Control Policy is pretty much guaranteed to be bogus.
Yeah. Now,
when it comes to marijuana.
How'd this get on Comcast with nobody attributing authorship to
You
the
never
story?
know. They got a lot of money.
Well, it was on CNN. It ran across CNN all day.
Oh, did it?
Yes.
Okay, well,
right across CNN. MSNBC had it on there all day as well.
Okay.
It was just going across the ticker all day with the regular news.
Well, then that's yet more proof that this was a story. Well, it says the report was being released Friday, meaning today. So.
Of course, the news dump day.
Yeah.
When nobody's going to pick anything up.
Right.
The Republican resigned. You know, it always happens on Friday.
Yep.
And that's the news dump day. But yeah, they don't have anything else to do, and we have Barney Frank's bill, so that's what's happening. Sorry, wrong camera.
Well, keep up the good work, you guys. We appreciate everything you do.
Well, we appreciate your call.
Thanks so much. You guys have a great evening.
Thank you.
I feel like I'm playing tennis.
We'll bounce around from one camera to another. But if you're out there and you have a question for any of us tonight, you can call us at 503-288-4448. That's 503-288-4448. It is Friday, the 8th of May. So if you're watching, it's the 8th, right?
And 9th?
Is it the 9th?
It is the 9th because tomorrow's the cardholder meeting, second Saturday.
So it's the 10th. So tonight's the 9th. If you're watching on the 9th, then you can call us at 503-288-4448. There you have it. Now there's a piece of interesting material here that Tim, we got to pass that over to Tim.
Let's pass that over.
I might talk about it. I might not.
Oh.
Go ahead. I mean, I'm fascinated by this. This is part of the original.
I want to hear all about
Can
it.
you zoom in?
Board.
You can. You're up here. Okay. This is one of the original pieces of hemp. This is medium density fiberboard. It was made out of hemp that was grown in Spain, imported through France. We imported this, I think, in 1992. We imported a bale through CNS Specialty Builders Supply. Bill Conde, David Sieber, Barry Davis. I was on the board of directors there. We had to discover what we could do to use this. And so we had this bale of hemp that we had to bring in through the DEA, and we had to prove that there was no THC in it whatsoever, and we were able to do that. And so now we got the hemp, and now we have to discover what is it that you do with a bale of hemp to turn it into a actual real live board. And
I understand studies said that is stronger than steel.
This is what we did when we had to actually go through all of the standard industry tests for this and for this board. And what we discovered was that it met or surpassed every standard in the industry. And so it's the modulus of rupture on this is something like 1,500, which is 10 times average. And so when we had it tested on CNN, because we actually did have this tested on CNN, it broke the machine that tests things like this. There was, so we discovered all kinds of fanciful things that you can do with hemp from an industrial standpoint, and so this is when in my archives, and you always have show and tell down here, Paul, and so
I'm glad you brought that in.
I'd bring a piece of history. This is actually one of the very first hemp boards ever made, and I was on the board of directors, and I actually discovered how it was that we could cut this up in order to turn it into boards, because when we sent it to Washington State, and we discovered that they were using long fibers, and they put it through their fiber masher. And at Washington State University, they have the most advanced composite manufacturing research and development facility in the world. It was funded by the United States government. Lab. But yeah, it was after World War II. They funded that, and so that's where we took it to have them test the fibers. And when they put all those fibers into the machine, it froze the machine up in just a few seconds. And they'd never had anything do that to their machine before. Rather than be upset, they were rather excited because they'd never had anything do that before, right. And they wanted to know what this stuff was all about. And so we went on to several-year research and development process, and I believe that if you ever wanted to license this, you could go to Washington State University and purchase the license, because they own the license for this, and you could learn how to make it, and the formula is available. Simple as that. It's
Tim,
out there.
that would be an excellent project for us to put forth and to put on the websites for the Octa.
I agree.
Because this is the kind of information we need to get out there to the consumer, to the taxpayer, to the voters.
That's true. I agree. I really do agree. It's a practical, useful. One of the things that I would love to develop, what we discovered then, this was back in '92, so this was 16 years ago, was that at that time there wasn't enough hemp in the world to actually produce. To keep a plant going for more than a week. There wasn't that much hemp fiber. We're just talking about the fiber, the hurd, those products that come out of the plant, the bast fiber on the outside, the hurd on the inside. And if we continued production, and production now has increased greatly in Canada and in other places in North America, we could actually, I think on a small scale, create plants that could manufacture hemp boards on a local basis anywhere they could grow hemp. I really do. I think it's a feasible idea. So anyway, that's one of my dreams in my lifetime, is to be able to create and find a way to do that on small scale so that we can reproduce it all over the world. I think that would be a wonderful thing. Well, everybody'd have hemp boards.
Our Oregon Cannabis Tax Act could well do that. Madeline and I are both chief petitioners on that. You just brought that in tonight. Was it Melody?
Melody Silverwolf pulled it together. Well, actually, Alicia Williamson, who would be this?
Alicia
Williamson actually pulled it all together, and Melody threw her artistic abilities behind it.
So it's Alicia and Melody's volunteer.
A collaboration. What we do is we work over the phone and on email, and we collaborate. What do you think about this? And what do you think about that? And what will we say about this?
Logo. You've got the symbol for infinity, which is called Octa,
exactly.
Which is the acronym for the Oregon Cannabis Tax Act on the little logo there. And Uncle Sam, he wants you, and that's what it takes. We need you.
It starts with you.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what we're trying to say.
We need lots of petitioners to get this thing out there.
Yeah.
It's very difficult these days to hire petitioners and pay them under Oregon law. Well, it's a lot more difficult to get signatures now than it was 5, 10, 15 years ago.
Well, we got our first donation, and we got our first volunteer that called in because they saw this at the Million Marijuana March.
All right.
And they're from some adults, young adults from Clackamas Community College that really want to get involved.
All right.
And I'm trying to get them to start a hemp club, of course, because that's really important to me. But, this is got some really good talking points on it. The Oregon Cannabis Tax Act 2010 will protect our children by regulating distribution.
Right, exactly.
And tax funds for Oregon, sustainable, renewable, valuable. Yeah. This is really important stuff, and free law enforcement resources for violent crime and property offenses.
You should have our audience come down and pick one of those up at our office.
They really should.
Southeast 18th and Ankeny, if you'd like to get one of these volunteer forms. Or you can go to our website at cannabistaxact.org. It's cannabistaxact.org, and it's linked through the portal hemp.org, www.hemp.org. I understand we have another phone call. Hello, caller.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Is the THC and the THC alone what achieves what they call the high? If so, why doesn't the synthetic marinol achieve it? And you've mentioned hemp has a low THC level. How are you able to determine the percentage of THC in a plant?
Well, there are tests, and I personally don't get them tested myself. However, I can tell you that the hemp that's grown in Europe and in Canada under license, by law, has to be less than 1% THC. And in some cases, less than a half of 1%. And what they've done is there's a company in France that's got a special breed of seeds that are patented, and they guarantee that it'll be less than a half of 1% THC. Now, the problem with trying to grow those seeds is it's not a stable strain. Once you try to breed it or let it interbreed with itself, it's naturally going to have more THC. But the real secret to that is they've bred the flowers out of the plant, and the THC is mainly in the flowers. According to recent research also, a single gene expresses both THC, the main psychoactive component, and CBD, which is a compound in cannabis that has more medicinal value than THC itself. And so it's a converse relationship. If you have THC, a lot of THC, you're going to have little CBD. And if you have little THC, you're going to have more CBD. So in the flowers, you don't have much THC, but you have a lot. I mean, you have THC in the flowers, but in the leaves you don't have much THC, and therefore, conversely, you have more CBD in the flowers. And the leaves, excuse me. More CBD in the leaves, more THC in the flowers. That's just standard botany of cannabis. And so I don't personally get them tested myself. I've never attempted that. But in the countries that have industrial hemp, the government goes out and tests the field and makes certain it's in compliance.
Hello?
Yeah, hello?
So essentially, it's some type of chemical test that they apply to the plant then?
No. I believe so, yeah.
And then...
some kind of analysis. I'm not sure how they achieve that, but...
So is THC then what achieves what they call the high?
Yeah, it's the primary ingredient in the high in cannabis, but... Their CBD also has some effect in terms of it lowers blood pressure and lowers interocular pressure in the eye. That's got to affect vision a little bit. And so there's also CBC, which has it's cannabichromine as opposed to CBD, cannabidiol. Cannabichromine has some analgesic properties, and there's a couple of other unique cannabinoids that have medicinal effects as well that the pharmaceutical industries are spending a lot of money to investigate. They've got a big conference coming up in June in Scotland, the annual International Clinical Cannabis Conference.
Why then doesn't the synthetic marinol achieve the same high, you might call it?
Well, it depends on the dosage, how much is taken, and it's... it doesn't have the other compounds in cannabis. Some people say the synthetic marinol makes them too high, and that they can't regulate the dosage.
Well, thank you very much.
Sure. Thanks for your call.
Good information. I like that.
Thanks.
Education, that's what it's all about.
We keep trying. Yes. If you're out there and you have a question for us tonight, call us at 503-288-4448. I try to stay on top of it. O'Shaughnessy's, Fred Gardner's publication, comes out with a lot of great articles, a couple times a year. There are other sources out there. Paul Armento and the folks at National Normal put out synopsises of the news articles and the research articles on medicinal cannabis. A lot of times I read that in our news.
Arrow.
Yeah. And Arrow, of course, is also a great source. And MAP, the Media Awareness Project, which donates both our website at THCF and CRRH and the Oregon Normal website as well. We have another caller, though. Hello, caller. You're on the show. Hello? Well, must have... Caller. Are you there, caller?
I am.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, I just now tuned in, and I would like to know if marijuana is ever prescribed for people who suffer from depression.
No.
Not in the state of Oregon, only in the state of California. The law in California was a Proposition 215, which passed in 1996, was broader and more concise and more abbreviated than any other medical marijuana law. It's just a simple one-sentence law that says doctors can recommend cannabis for any condition which they see fit. That's not an exact quote, but that's a paraphrase. So doctors can recommend cannabis for anything that cannabis is useful for, where in all the other states that have passed medical marijuana since then, there's a delineated list of conditions that qualify. And there's a mechanism by which you can add conditions to that list. Here in Oregon, they added rage associated with Alzheimer's. In Washington State, they added hepatitis C. And so they have this list that's almost identical of conditions in all the other states. In California, it's the only state that allows doctors to recommend it for psychological conditions or as a treatment to help in addiction withdrawals.
In California, isn't it any condition that a doctor deems appropriate?
And I know Dr. McCrea put together a list of conditions that, well, I think it's about 190 different conditions.
Yeah.
It's very comprehensive. And there's a list of the ones that qualify in the state of Oregon. Now, did you have another question?
No, I was just going to say, I see that your list there, and thank you for answering my question.
Sure. Now, if you are being treated for depression with a drug that causes one of these other conditions, usually it's nausea or inability to eat or something like that, then that treatment for your other condition could qualify you for medical marijuana. If you have documented nausea from your treatment for depression, then you might be able to get a medical marijuana permit to use as an adjunct in that treatment. But that's pretty rare, but it does happen. Yes. That is included in the list of conditions, is any treatment for another condition that causes one of these conditions. And the condition that's most prevalent out there, that over 60% of the patients have, is chronic pain. That usually comes from back injury, but lots of other types of injuries and illnesses. And so chronic pain is the largest single category. There's also chronic and severe nausea, AIDS, glaucoma, gastrointestinal ailments like IBS and Crohn's disease and GERD, cancer, asthma and spastic conditions like multiple sclerosis, epilepsy, and seizure disorders. And neurological disorders like Parkinson's and Alzheimer's. Those qualify. And they've actually shown recently that cannabis can stop the progression of neurological disorders like multiple sclerosis and Parkinson's, and kill cancer cells. So there's a lot of new research in those fields, and the pharmaceutical companies are trying to isolate those cannabis compounds so they can patent them and sell them to us at a pretty penny.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. I hope that helped.
Yeah, a lot of my friends and myself just call it qualifying for old age at this point. Well, if you don't have arthritis, you have something.
In our California office, we treat, it's a little different than our other offices. Anyone over 65, we don't even ask for medical records. So once you're 65, if you just come to our office there, we'll give you a medical marijuana permit. Because of old age, it's natural, everyone has pain at that age. And then also, anyone who goes here gets a Marinol prescription as well to help them in their employment. In our other clinics, usually you can't get a Marinol prescription unless you have an employment issue. We try to only give those out for people who need them, or like the transplant situation. If you're on a transplant list right now and you have medical marijuana, that will lead to you being taken off the transplant list. Right. So we make certain that people on transplant lists get a Marinol prescription, then they can't be kicked off those transplant lists. We have another caller, though. Hello, caller.
Is it me?
Yeah.
Oh, hey, Paul.
Hey.
This is Wally the Guido Fisherman. I haven't called in a long time.
Hey, well, I'm glad you called again. How's it going tonight?
All right. Also, the guy wanted wild mountain weed. But anyway, these farmers were on the news today, and they're all whining and crying about fuel, you know, and they got to run their tractors up and down thousands of acres. Or,
they could grow their own fuel right there.
Yeah, that's what,
Back many years ago when we were circulating the Octa petition in the 90s, we didn't quite make it back then. We didn't have the resources that hopefully we'll be able to muster this time. But I went to the high school in Corvallis to a bunch of farmers, and they were very excited about having industrial hemp to replace the grass seed crop and a lot of the other crops that aren't providing the economic sustenance they need to keep their family on the farm.
Yeah, I know a grass seed farmer in Salem, and he don't smoke or nothing, but he was sure surprised. He didn't have no idea that the hemp seed oil will go right into the diesel vehicle, and he's got a $100,000 tractor. He says, I could surround my property around my major crop and still have his own fuel,
Yeah.
So,
and, the byproduct of making 300 gallons of hemp seed oil per acre is 3 tons of high-protein hemp flour, like this stuff here, and 5 to 10 tons of hemp bast fiber to make canvas, rope, lace, and linen, and 20 to 30 tons of hemp hurd fiber to make paper and building materials.
Don't forget those 1x4s.
Yeah, like those 1x4s. or any other size timber you might imagine.
I wonder how they'd be for Presto logs.
Probably work. I know they used to burn hemp hurd fiber and use it for animal bedding and burn it as a fuel on the farms.
Well, I enjoy the show. I always watch it every week.
Well, thanks. Thanks for your support.
Keep it up.
Come on down and get one of these petitions when it comes out this summer and help us get a few signatures, and we'll make marijuana completely legal.
Well, I'm going to have to do something different because fishing's been terrible this year for the Willamette.
Come on. We need all the help we can get.
All righty. Thank you, Madeline. I like your haircut.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Right. Thank you. If you're out there and you have a question for us tonight, well, we'll take calls for about another 20 minutes or so at 503-288-4448. I think we have the film clip from the Million Marijuana March. Get your Crayolas ready, folks. Here, we're going to roll it.
Okay, count the suits.
Let me roll it. Well, we had technical difficulties there. We went right into the raw footage instead of the actual clip. Maybe we'll get
go into the control room for just a minute.
Go into the control room. Maybe we'll let Mr. Pate come over here with his fabulous hemp board. Come on over, Tim. All right, dance right over.
And I can tell you all about my vision of a hemp house.
Oh yeah.
Let's do it.
ISO Chambre, Let me get this out.
Yeah, French company. They built a few of those.
Yeah. We should get one. I think it would be great.
Yeah.
It's just broke.
Uh-oh.
I hate it when that happens.
I know, me too. We'll see if it works.
Oh, well.
Give me a yes or
I always like to remind our audiences that our show is all volunteer. All of us in front of this camera, plus the dozen people behind the camera, are all here because we want to get this information out to you, and we volunteer to do it. So just want you to know, we have little glitches here and there.
Can tell me.
But
okay, cool.
By and large, it's not bad for cable TV.
Hey, this is show number 450.
450.
I mean, we've been at this a long time.
I know. Gee, it's been a long, long time. I can hardly believe it.
I know.
Great job.
Thank you. Thank you.
Long time.
Since 1996.
Very good.
What is that, 12 years? A little over 12 years?
Yeah. Yes, Paul Loney used to be your
he was the co-host from like show number 5 or 10 up to show 120.
Great.
About show 120.
And still has a major presence in our movement here.
Well, he's our legal director. He's Oregon Normal's legal director.
I know. I really think Paul, his organization of the cardholder meetings has been crucial in keeping it, safe and sound.
What happened was I went to Paul and I said, Paul, I have an idea, and I'd like to do this. Let's sit down and hash out the legalities to it. And that's, of course, where he chimed in with us. That's what our attorney's
Well, he's been the official Octa signature counter for some time. So over the weekend, I asked him, and he agreed if he would, be the keeper of the petitions and the official number keeper yet again. And he agreed to do that. So
great. He will do a great job. He's very efficient.
And that's very important because this thing that Mannix put forward,
a solid number.
He needed maybe 120,000 signatures. He needed 86, but you always got to bump it another 50% on top of that just to get it right. And he couldn't get 16,000. So I was really glad to see that,
Me too.
I really was. He did not get the support that he thought he was going to get, and I'm glad.
I think a lot of it had to do with our vibe, We had a major vibe out there in the street support.
And the word out, don't sign this petition. And I'm sure he had a hard time doing that. And he's trying to run for Congress. Sure. I'm sure this doesn't help him, being the anti-medical marijuana guy is not the way to win a seat in the United States Congress.
Not in Oregon.
Hey, we have another caller. Hello, caller. You're on the show.
I was just watching C-SPAN about 15 minutes ago, and they were saying that hemp raises your blood pressure.
Oh,
hemp is harder.
Just the opposite.
I know.
Who was it that was saying that?
But let me tell you this, and let me tell you something else. The reason they're doing this garbage is because hemp is what can bring us sovereignty back. Economic sovereignty. We don't need their stupid paper, valueless money anymore. We don't need it. If we start dealing with each other on a local basis, it'll get global. And here's the thing. They were saying stuff on there. I mean,
who was it that was talking?
C-SPAN. They had a bunch of these supposed experts on there.
So it's kind of an anti-marijuana panel.
Yeah, they had somebody from England, someone from here and there, saying, "Oh, it's addictive, and it leads to everything, all the rhetoric."
There's been a press in England to recriminalize cannabis over the past few weeks, and particularly the Prime Minister of England, Gordon Brown, said that cannabis was lethal. Get that, lethal.
Lethal.
Yeah.
Gosh. And there's so many uneducated people out there.
It's the laws against it that can be lethal.
As soon as they say something like that, you know for a fact that they are ignorant of the fact.
Well, actually, these people know exactly what they're doing.
Sure.
And it's a big threat. They said that it's declining. That the use of it is declining. Now, that's the biggest crock of garbage I've ever heard. And I think they're getting scared.
Yeah. Well, it's a reactionary backlash to progressive moves forward. That always happens. It's 2 steps forward, 1 step back.
Yes.
And so,
but I think
it's going to get louder and louder as issues like ours makes the ballot here in Oregon. I know MPP is going to put it on the ballot again in Nevada in 2010. We're likely to see it on the ballot again in Alaska and Colorado, both of which have had initiatives on the ballot before. So we'll see a broad movement, I think,
I'll be at the
over the next
tomorrow.
couple of years.
I'll be at the meeting tomorrow.
Great.
There's stuff to sign.
Good.
Man, I'll get as many people together there to sign. I'll say this whole thing's about sovereignty.
Yeah, well,
we're not going to start collecting signatures until July the 7th.
Yeah, we can't until the actual signature period starts.
But then we will.
Anyway, thanks, guys. Keep up the good work, and we are going to win this.
Yes,
hey, we're heading for a depression, and they're going to have to let us have some hemp. And if they don't, then that's like murder, if you ask me.
Yeah, well, it surely helped to lead to the end of alcohol prohibition. I remember that.
I'll tell you, alcohol
my
is
history,
a killer.
Anyway.
And they were saying it's as hard to quit as cigarettes. Well, why don't they make cigarettes illegal? That's a bunch of. Oh, I want to take a brick and just throw it through the sip. So I
careful, don't hurt your TV.
Don't hurt yourself.
You won't be able to watch Cannabis Common Sense anymore.
Have a good night, you guys.
Hey, remember, Colin, we'll see you at the meeting tomorrow.
Yeah, remember, in every war, the propaganda is always coming out, and it's most intense when they feel like they're about to lose.
It's always darkest before the dawn.
I understand the popular opinion has switched in our direction, or we would not have been able to pass any of these initiatives ever. And because of that, we feel like it's going to continue to grow across the United States. There are now more and more states that are coming online. 2 weeks ago when we had the meeting, the normal meeting, the director of the Octa here in Oregon came, Sonia.
The Oregon Medical Marijuana Program.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I had a conversation with her, and she was saying that at least twice a month there are other states in the United States that call her and want her advice on how to do this. You know, they want to know about the model that we've created here in Oregon because it's such a good model. I feel like we're going to just continue, and we're not going to stop because there are sick people in every state.
Over 20,000 patients. How is that going to be stopped?
I know.
There's no way.
Exactly. So
yeah.
Okay, well, we've got the clips all lined up.
Oh, really?
Actually ready to go with that.
Oh, very good.
All right, well, let's try this again.
Difficulty here?
Take you into the global marijuana march.
Count those ties.
Maybe they're ready.
Maybe they're ready. Okay, almost ready.
Let's roll it.
There we go.
May we all have good health, happiness, and peace. May we march freely. May we march to freedom. And may we achieve our goal of hemp and cannabis legalization, liberalization. May you all be well, happy, and peaceful.
Today we are going to be kicking off the Oregon Cannabis Tax Act for 2010. Because you know what? It's a crime for this plant to be illegal. It is the most amazing plant on the planet. It is food, it is fuel, and it is spiritual to many of us. And our country is headed in the wrong direction. We continue to waste billions of dollars on a war on marijuana, which is really a war on America. Americans' roots are hemp roots. Our Constitution, our Bill of Rights were drafted on hemp paper. We need to go back to our hemp roots by growing hemp here in Oregon and prospering like we did before. And we are going to normalize marijuana once again in this country. Why is Thomas Jefferson wrong about hemp if he was right about everything else? Our boy Thomas Jefferson is even thought to have been a consumer because he wanted the female plant sorted from the males. Why is that? We all know what Tom was doing, and we all do the same thing, and that's okay. I want everybody to be respectful today. There's no dogs, no drugs, and no alcohol at this event. We respect the city of Portland for allowing us to have this privilege of marching and crying out to stop the war on America, to stop the war on hemp. I love you all. And get ready to march, baby!
We can make papers, fuels, medicine. There's so much that hemp can do for us.
inspired.
Nice job.
Nice job. You inspired me. That was a great speech there.
Thank you.
So we ended there with Ganja Girls signing the Octa petition there, or some petition.
She couldn't sign the Octa petition. It's not in circulation yet.
For television purposes, that would be the
That would be the thing. But I'll tell you, we got a lot of publicity for Octa in the march. It seemed like every news article that talked about the march talked about the new petition coming out for 2010.
Well, you know, it's all about how you frame that message, isn't it?
You
They
did a
ask
great
you
job.
a question and you just say, Octa.
Yeah.
What's going to help us? Octa. What's going to solve economic problems? Octa.
I love it. We have another caller. Hello, caller. You're on the show.
Hi there. How are you doing?
Very well. How are you?
Good. I'm really good. And the opening ceremony, to see it twice by mistake was a blessing.
You're right.
It was just beautiful.
It was. It really was powerful.
You guys are beautiful. You know, I want to say that I was very, very ill and had been ill for, a year and a half. Had seen 12 physicians in the medical community and was treated with no respect or compassion. And from the moment I walked into your clinic, I was overwhelmed with compassion and care. And that is a rarity, to really see that and feel it. And thank you so much. I just wish everyone could get an ounce of that from me so that they could understand.
I wish they could too.
Well, that's the reaction we're going for.
I want to say I did call last week about my concerns with the pharmaceutical industry, and I believe the pharmaceutical industry is the enemy. It is the propaganda machine.
Yeah.
They are in the government. They may be the government for all I know.
Oh, they're definitely in it.
And so what we have to do as consumers is we have to boycott any Monsanto products, any Bayer products. We have to do some homework and see who the enemy is so we can take them down the only way they know how.
Well, you know, Bayer has bought into Sativex, the British company that is going to give us cannabis extract medicines.
Is that GW Pharmaceuticals?
Yeah, GW Pharmaceuticals.
I saw that.
Bayer invested pretty heavily in GW, and so now GW Pharmaceuticals is a subsidiary of Bayer, I believe.
And the sad part, it's our own government.
Yeah.
It's our own government that's lying and that's cheating and that is putting all this propaganda. Exactly.
It's the petrochemical and pharmaceutical industry. If you look at the Bush family, the Bush family has lots of their wealth tied up in Eli Lilly and other pharmaceutical companies.
And don't you think they got some good old marijuana growing somewhere for themselves? I mean, they have to do something because, you know, they're having too much fun. Anyway, thank you again so much.
Thanks for your call and thanks for your support.
I'm going to
click off. I'm glad you had a good experience with us.
And I want to remind everyone that tomorrow's Oregon Normal's second Saturday cardholder meeting, and that's tomorrow, Saturday, May the 10th. Oh, I'm over here. And we'd like you to get there and have your OMMP card, your state ID or driver's license, and we hope that you'll bring some cuttings with you.
Yeah,
and we'll always take donations of excess, so whatever you'd like to bring with you is wonderful. But get there at 11. The doors open then. Actually, people do get there much earlier. They like to get there quite early in the morning.
They can.
Yeah, you get a better spot. It gets pretty crowded in there, so you want to get a good seat early.
Yeah, and we even suggest that people bring those chairs that they carry over their back. You can join at the door as well. So I'm just flipping around.
The address is right there on the screen.
There
it's
it
at the corner of Southeast 49th and Hawthorne at the Mount Tabor Theater.
Southeast Hawthorne.
Yeah,
there
last
you go.
time we actually had enough to give out seconds to some people.
I know, it was very exciting. It was. As a matter of fact, futuristically, I have a film of the last meeting, OMP 101, where Sonia came from the OMMP.
I'd love to get that.
Yeah, I have that film. A really nice volunteer of ours, Gordon, filmed that, and he also filmed the event at Mount Tabor, the after party from Los Marihuanos and Chief Green.
Well, that was fun.
Wasn't that a great party? I loved it. I had a great time.
We have another caller. Hello, caller. You're on the show.
Hey, how you doing? I just want to, thank all three of you and your organization. I just think it's totally awesome.
Thank you.
And I just wanted to ask a question. If you know of any information about somebody having type 1 diabetes, possibly in the future being eligible for medical marijuana?
Well, some of the side effects of diabetes are covered. Severe pain, painful neuropathy, if you have spasms or any other side effects, like inability to eat in particular, then those side effects can qualify for medical marijuana.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, and all of you all have a good evening, and
Thank you.
Things work out in 2010.
Thanks. We appreciate that. We want to remind our viewers out there, we've got our Hemp Stock Festival that's coming up this summer on September 6th and 7th. And if you're out there and you are a golfer, or you are the owner of a golf cart, we need golf carts. It's a big area out there, and you run from one end of it to the other, back and forth all day, your legs get sore. So we're looking for some golf carts that, if you can help us with that by loaning us a golf cart or even donating one, a loan would be just fine, though. Give us a call at our office number. It's right there on the screen, 503-235-4606. Now, we have the cardholder meeting at 11 to noon, and we also have a hemp stock organizational meeting later that afternoon. Are we going to do it there at Mount Tabor, or are we going over
I thought we had planned to go
over to the THCF offices?
Right,
okay.
right.
And so that's also taking place tomorrow. We also have classes. If you are a medical marijuana permit holder and you want to learn more about cultivation, we have beginning, intermediate, and advanced classes for people out there. So give us a call at 503-235-4606 about that.
Yes.
Is there anything you'd like to
Yes, I would
say?
like to tell people that if they're interested in getting involved in the Octa, to please get in touch with us at 503-235-4606. Leave their information there, and we will call them back, or they can call the Oregon Normal office. I should say message line 503-239-6110, and we will call you back and let you know how you can get involved. We're going to have some training classes on petitioning, because we want to make sure that every single signature counts. And from past experience, we found out if you change your signature, if you're a petition gatherer, then you can possibly lose the whole sheet, which is not exactly what we want to do. So, well, not at all what we want to do. We want to make sure that we get it right.
Yeah. Well, I just want to remind our viewers out there, if you or a loved one might qualify for medical marijuana, then we have a physician referral service throughout the western United States. Here in Portland, you can call for that referral at 503-235-4606. That's 235-4606. Up in Seattle, the Seattle number is 206-878-1701. Up in the Seattle area, again, that's 206-878-1701. In Denver, our Denver line is 303-403-9996. That's 303-403-9996 in Denver. If you're down in Southern California, the Riverside, California office is 951-782-9898. That's 951-782-9898. If you're anywhere throughout the western United States, you can call our toll-free number at 1-800-723-0188. That's 1-800-723-0188. I want to thank you for coming on again, Madeline. We'll have to have you back again soon. We'll be gearing up for the Octa petition. We need your help. Tune in, stay in touch, and help us restore hemp. Good night.